Welcome, everyone. Today, we are focusing on a cornerstone of Microsoft 365 security, authentication. In a zero-trust world, the old perimeter is dead. Identity is your new perimeter. We will explore how Microsoft Entra ID modernizes authentication, moves us beyond passwords, and secures every access request. Let's get started. To secure Microsoft 365, we must first distinguish between identity and authentication. Identity is simply a claim I am Alice from accounting. Authentication is the cryptographic proof of that claim. Here is the exact token that proves I am Alice. At their core, these concepts answer two essential questions: who is trying to access our data, and how do we prove they are who they say they are? Every single interaction with Microsoft 365, whether you are checking email or collaborating in SharePoint, starts right here. In the past, being on the corporate network was enough proof. Today, under the zero-trust security model, we assume breach. We trust no one by default. Therefore, Microsoft Entra ID sits at the front door of your tenant, explicitly verifying every authentication request before any data is released. Let's look at this fundamental access flow. On the far left, a user makes an identity claim. Before they can touch any data, they pass through the crucial authentication gateway, the prove it phase. Only after their identity is cryptographically verified does the system move to authorization, determining their specific permissions, and finally granting access to M365. If authentication fails, the flow immediately stops. It is your ultimate frontline defense. The engine powering all authentication in Microsoft 365 is Microsoft Entra ID. Think of it as your organization's central nervous system for security. Entra ID manages the digital identities of everything: your employees, external guests, laptops, mobile devices, and even the enterprise applications themselves. Why is this centralization critical? Because fragmented authentication systems lead to security blind spots. By funneling all access through Entra ID, you ensure that every login attempt is subjected to your organization's unified security policies. Furthermore, Entra ID isn't just a static database checking a password against a hash. It is an intelligent engine. During the authentication process, it evaluates the exact context of the request, the device health, the IP address, and the application being requested to ensure a deeply secure, modern authentication experience. This diagram illustrates Entra ID's position as the centralized gatekeeper. When a user or device initiates a sign-in request, it goes directly to Microsoft Entra ID. The authentication engine acts as the central router, validating the credentials. Once approved, the identity token is seamlessly securely passed to the requested services like Exchange, SharePoint, or Teams. There are no side doors. Everything flows through this unified, protected central hub. We must acknowledge a hard truth: passwords alone are obsolete. They are easily guessed, stolen via phishing, or reused across compromised sites. This is where multi-factor authentication, or MFA, becomes mandatory. MFA requires multiple distinct forms of proof: something you know, something you have, or something you are. Implementing MFA effectively stops over 99% of automated identity attacks. However, we also want to avoid MFA fatigue, where users are constantly bombarded with prompts. This is where risk-based authentication elevates your security posture. Utilizing Microsoft Entra Identity Protection, the system uses machine learning and global threat intelligence to assess the risk of a specific sign-in. Is the user logging in from a new country? Is the IP address linked to a known botnet? If the system detects an anomaly like impossible travel, it dynamically triggers an MFA challenge. If the sign-in is from a known device on a trusted network, it lets the user in seamlessly. Here we see risk-based authentication in action. A sign-in attempt hits the Entra ID protection risk engine. If the telemetry shows a known device and typical location, it's deemed low risk, and access is granted smoothly. But if the engine spots high-risk indicators, like impossible travel between two continents in 1 hour, it forces a dynamic MFA challenge. If the user passes, they get in. If they fail or ignore it, access is instantly blocked and IT is alerted. Security adapts to the threat. While MFA is excellent, the ultimate goal in modern identity architecture is eliminating the password entirely. Welcome to passwordless sign-in. Passwordless methods replace vulnerable passwords with secure, cryptographic key pairs tied to physical hardware. Microsoft 365 supports several passwordless options, including Windows Hello for Business, FIDO2 security keys like YubiKeys, and the Microsoft Authenticator app. Why make this shift? Because you cannot phish a password that a user doesn't know or type. When a user authenticates using their fingerprint or face via Windows Hello, that biometric data never leaves their local device. Instead, the biometric scan unlocks a secure hardware enclave, the TPM chip, which signs a cryptographic challenge sent by Enter ID. Because the private key is permanently bound to the device and never transmitted over the internet, these methods are highly phishing resistant. This is the gold standard for authentication, vastly stronger security combined with a frictionless user experience. Let's trace the passwordless sequence. The user initiates sign-in by providing a biometric scan or PIN to their local device. This action unlocks the device's secure hardware containing the private key. Enter ID then sends down a cryptographic challenge. The device signs this challenge using the private key and returns it. Enter ID verifies the signature using the paired public key it holds on file. Because the private key never traverses the network, credential theft is mathematically neutralized. The user gets seamless access. Authentication isn't just about locking bad guys out, it's about letting your workforce operate efficiently. This brings us to Single Sign-On, or SSO. SSO allows a user to authenticate once against Microsoft Enter ID and then seamlessly access Exchange, Teams, SharePoint, and even third-party SaaS applications like Salesforce or Workday without being prompted for credentials again. Why is this critical? Asking users to remember 20 different passwords leads to password fatigue. They will start writing them on sticky notes or reusing weak passwords. From an IT perspective, SSO means if an employee leaves the company, you disable their Enter ID account once, and their access to all connected applications is instantly revoked. To achieve this, Enter ID uses modern federation protocols like OAuth 2.0 and SML. The brilliant part of SSO is that the downstream application never actually sees the user's password. Enter ID simply passes a secure token confirming the user's verified identity. Observe the elegant efficiency of SSO. The user authenticates exactly once against Microsoft Enter ID at the top. Once verified, Enter ID acts as the ultimate authority, issuing secure SAML or OAuth tokens to downstream applications. The arrows flow effortlessly to Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, and even a third-party HR app. The user moves between these systems without friction, while IT maintains absolute, centralized control over the authentication tokens. If Enter ID is the engine, conditional access is the brain. Conditional access is the policy engine that evaluates real-time signals to make intelligent access decisions. It operates on simple if-then logic. For example, if a user attempts to access SharePoint and they're off the corporate network, then require MFA. This is how you enforce the zero trust principle of verify explicitly. It is not just about the username and password anymore. Conditional access looks at the identity risk, the health and compliance of the endpoint device via Microsoft Intune, the geographic location, and the sensitivity of the app being requested. But it goes deeper than just allow or block. You can integrate it with Microsoft Defender for cloud apps to enforce session controls. For instance, if an executive logs in from a personal, unmanaged iPad, conditional access can allow them to read emails via the web browser, but strictly block them from downloading attachments, perfectly balancing productivity with data security. This diagram showcases the conditional access evaluation process. On the left, we feed multiple signals into the conditional access engine: the user's location, the device's health status from Intune, and the app's sensitivity. The engine processes these signals instantly against your IT policies and outputs a precise decision. It can allow seamless access, require an MFA prompt to increase confidence, or outright block the connection if the risk is too high. This happens in milliseconds on every single login. To secure your authentication landscape, we have to close the backdoors. The most dangerous backdoor in Microsoft 365 is legacy authentication. Legacy authentication refers to outdated email protocols like POP3, IMAP, and authenticated SMTP. Why are these so dangerous? Because these legacy protocols were built decades ago and fundamentally do not understand how to process a multi-factor authentication challenge. Even if you deploy the strictest MFA policies in the world, an attacker who steals a password can simply point a script at your Exchange server using the IMAP protocol, completely bypass the MFA prompt, and steal your data. Because of this, attackers relentlessly target legacy endpoints with automated brute force and password spray attacks. As an administrator, you must use conditional access to explicitly block all clients attempting to sign in using legacy authentication. Modernizing your clients and shutting down these old protocols is a non-negotiable step in securing M365. Look at this critical threat vector diagram. An attacker with a stolen password tries to log in. If they use modern auth, they hit your MFA challenge, fail, and are blocked. But if they use legacy auth like IMAP, they bypass standard MFA. They hit the conditional access check. If your legacy block is enabled, they are successfully blocked at the front door. But follow the red path. If that block is missing, the attacker bypasses MFA entirely and compromises the account. You must implement this block. Let's tie all these authentication principles together with a real-world, highly practical use case. Imagine your finance director is traveling abroad and urgently needs to access Q3 budget files in SharePoint from a hotel Wi-Fi network. Step 1. They initiate the login. Microsoft Entra ID protection immediately flags this unfamiliar foreign IP address as a medium-risk sign-in. Step 2. The conditional access engine kicks in. It sees the user is in the finance group, requesting access to SharePoint from an untrusted network. Step 3. Your configured policy dictates that high-sensitivity users in risky scenarios cannot use a standard password or SMS text. The policy explicitly requires a phishing-resistant, passwordless authentication method. Step 4. The director is prompted to insert their FIDO2 hardware key into their laptop. They touch the key, authenticating cryptographically. The outcome: access is securely granted. The beauty here is that no password was ever typed or transmitted over that untrusted hotel Wi-Fi, completely neutralizing the risk of credential interception. This is modern authentication in action. This final sequence diagram illustrates our hybrid worker scenario perfectly. The finance director attempts to log in from the hotel. The Entra ID risk engine passes the medium risk signal to conditional access. Conditional access cross-references the policy and pushes a demand for a FIDO2 key back to the director. The director provides the cryptographic signature via their hardware key. Conditional access validates this undeniable proof, issues the token, and SharePoint unlocks the Q3 budget files. Secure, contextual, and passwordless.
To find related ebook and other material for this training course, go to quicktechie.com. Now you will see all the video courses are available here. So let's move to the ebooks. You can go here, ebooks, all AI related ebooks like you are watching currently Mythos related training. That ebook would be uploaded under this section. You can download this ebook. PDF would be available, all 300-page PDF. So you just click on the download this entire ebook. You can download from this section. So whatever training you are currently listening, corresponding ebook would be available. We have thousands of ebooks available. Now, other than that, we have on video courses which you are watching right now. This also all AI related courses are available. Similarly, for all company related trainings are available like Microsoft. You can find it here with their respective certification training modules. All exam simulators which would help you to get the certification preparation. Just refresh if you get this kind of error. Okay, so now you can see these are all certification preparation materials. Will also be click here to the NVIDIA certification preparation material. So you can see all NVIDIA certification preparation materials, and click on any of this and it would load the entire screen and you can launch the practice paper. So this is what you can see, that you can submit the answer. We have an audiobooks available. Okay, so for each section, and these are our alumni who can you can find out all alumni who are accessing our portal